For 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Mr. Secretary, you have described this budget as a carefully designed set of investments and reforms to boost growth, create jobs, and improve opportunity for middle-class Americans. And last year, the President gave a speech in my district at home in Kansas, where the President boasted about making productive investments to secure a solid future for the middle class. However, the President's speech also instructed the crowd that, of course, those productive investments cost money, and they are not free. I think we all understand that this White House's spending is not free. And I think where we differ is where we should trust middle-class families. Should we trust families in Kansas to make their own productive investments rather than funneling our money through Washington? And the real threat to middle-class families, I believe, is the Washington's never-ending appetite to spend money. This budget would increase spending by $200 billion to $3.8 trillion, or more than 24% of GDP, which, according to even your own rosy projections, would result in a projected deficit of $1.3 trillion, adding $7 trillion in debt through 2022, and the numbers only get worse. At the same time, your budget calls for $1.9 trillion in new taxes from across the economy. I believe you've proposed tax increases on the rich and growing small businesses, on undefined Buffett tax, increased double taxation on dividends, capped charitable contributions, tapped the oil and gas industry, and even managed to shake some spare change from the aviation industry, not to mention the $1 trillion in fabricated war savings. And even after your budget has taxed the rich, the oil and gas, business jet manufacturers, you still continue to run record annual deficits to years to come, never ever approaching balance. You never ever balance the budget or lay out a plan to eliminate this national debt. Rather than protecting the middle class, I would suggest this budget will saddle the middle class and those aspiring to be in the middle class with trillions in national debt. It seems that this guarantees, your budget guarantees tax increases that will fall squarely on the middle class. There's no one left to tax. So my question is, doesn't the White House's inability to control spending mean that eventually middle-class taxpayers will just end up footing this bill?
You are mistaken in that judgment, and the President is committed, and you've heard us say this over and over again, that we will extend the Bush tax cut for middle-class families.
Who's going to pay off the debt? Who's going to balance the budget after you tax all of these other people and no one's left but the middle class?
You listed accurately, not the implications of those changes, but you listed very accurately exactly how we propose to restore our deficit to a more sustainable level. No, we get,
and you never ever even address the national
debt. We get to the critical test of fiscal responsibility and sustainability, which is, do we reduce the deficit to the level where our debt burden as a share of the economy stops growing and starts to decline?
That's your definition. No, in Kansas, hardworking families don't spend more money than they take in. Can you do that?
Well, let me pose it slightly. Maybe this would be helpful. Who would you like to bear the burden of reducing our deficits? If you'd
I would like us to control spending,
okay,
and that's what I'm trying to point out.
Where would you like to cut spending deeper than what we proposed?
I think you will see a House budget that was proposed last year that eventually gets to a balanced budget and eliminates the debt. And I would be surprised
I'll make it clear.
Excuse me.
Right.
I would be surprised if you don't see the House Republicans pass a similar budget this year. And I yield back.
And if the Secretary could respond briefly, I will then go to Mr. Crowley.
Okay. If you propose a way to get to balance the way you did last year, then what you show again is if you do it without modest tax increases on the top 2%, then you have to cut deeply into Medicare benefits to do it and to low-income country program, and we will not support that.